how many headings should I have in my literature review? This is one of the most common questions that I've been asked in my 20 years supporting graduate students. And the simple answer is your final written up literature review should have between 3 and 5 main headings. But it is not a good idea to try and write your literature review with 3 or 5 headings as you're going through, as you're developing it. In this video, I'm going to explain why that is. So let's get into it. So firstly, the whole 3 to 5 headings thing. What's it all about? Headings or sections are massively important for your literature review because they enable you to group together, to consolidate, to categorize particular ideas, particular items from the literature, which is probably quite disparate because when you're looking at PhD or master's level research, you're going to be drawing on different strands of the literature, different areas of the literature, and they're not going to kind of neatly fit together. You are going to have to bring them together around your research question. And I think between 3 and 5 headings, so either 3 or 4 or 5, is the optimum number for drawing out the themes that are relevant to your research question, to your research aims. And I also think that 3, 4 or 5 headings, those are really good numbers for drawing some boundaries around your literature review, for drawing the line. As an experienced PhD examiner, I've seen literature reviews with 8, 9, 10, 11 headings in the final written up version, and it's just too much. They've tried to bring in too much stuff. 3 to 5 headings is great for keeping things really focused and really intentional. Now, you might be thinking that 3, 4 or 5 headings is not very many, but you've got to remember you can use subheadings in there to break the content down further. It can be quite helpful to see what 3 to 5 headings actually look like in a literature review. So I'm going to share a couple of examples with you in a moment, so get ready to take a few screenshots. Okay, so 3 to 5 headings is what you're going to be aiming for in your final written up version of the literature review. But as I said at the beginning, don't confine yourself to 3 to 5 headings as you're developing your literature review, as you're actually putting it together. You want to go a bit broader. You want to allow yourself some space. Don't try to come up with 3 to 5 headings straight out of the gate. As a graduate student, it's really important that you approach your literature review with an exploratory mindset. You'll need to experiment with the literature. You'll need to do a really deep dive into it to gain a comprehensive understanding of your topic. And during this exploratory phase, it is absolutely necessary to have multiple provisional headings, sometimes way more than the actual numbers that you're aiming for. So when you're developing your literature review, if you've got 9, 10, 11, 12 provisional headings, all good. Now, the reasons why I'm advising you to keep it broad and keep your headings numerous as you're developing your literature review are as follows. Well, firstly, it helps you grasp the complexity. Many research topics are multifaceted, and you might not understand the scope or the depth of your topic until you really immerse yourself in the literature around it. When you believe that it's perfectly okay to start off with multiple headings, that belief enables you to capture the complexity and not censor yourself when you're putting your literature review together. Secondly, it enables you to refine your focus. Experimenting with various headings helps you to narrow down your research focus. You'll gradually figure out which elements of the literature are most relevant to your study and which ones can be condensed or excluded. And thirdly, it enables you to stay open to new insights. Research is a dynamic process, and you will get new insights and new perspectives the deeper you dive into the literature. You'll find yourself coming across things that you hadn't anticipated, things that you would never have thought were important. And having this flexibility, being okay with having loads and loads of headings, enables you to actually incorporate that stuff. Having numerous provisional headings, it helps to keep your literature review adaptable and responsive. So you've got all of your lovely provisional headings. What do you do with them when the time comes to write up? How do you narrow those down? How do you condense them to between 3 and 5 headings? Let's have a look. The first thing that you need to do is identify common themes and overlapping concepts. So review all of your provisional headings and the content underneath each one of them. Look for common themes, recurring concepts, overlapping ideas. Group related headings together and try and come up with a list of potential overarching themes. The next thing you need to do is prioritise their relevance to your research questions and aims. Here, you're going back to the drawing board. You're looking at your research aims, you're looking at your research questions, and you are asking yourself for each of those headings, how relevant is that heading for this aim or for this question? How helpful is this heading in understanding something that relates to making sense of this question or addressing this aim? Which of those headings make the biggest contribution to your research goals? Which of them provide essential context and insights? And the one thing that is possibly the hardest thing to do during this process is to eliminate any headings that are not particularly relevant or not particularly central when you look at your research aims and your research questions. You might want to get rid of some of these headings altogether, just scrap them from your literature review, or you might want to consolidate them within one of the headings that you are going to keep. So really spend some time thinking about that, thinking about whether it is necessary to keep this content in there. And it can be quite a painful process because a lot of work goes into a literature review, a lot of thought goes into it, and sometimes removing stuff is even more difficult than putting stuff in. But one thing that I would say is a helpful thing to do here is to create a stuff taken out document and put all of the things that you've removed into that document. That way, you can put that stuff back in later if you want to, or you can repurpose it. You can use it for a journal article or a blog post or something else that's going to be useful, just to make sure that you don't waste it. So by following those steps, you can effectively reduce down that list of provisional headings into that fantastic compact between 3 and 5 headings literature review. So you'll have a clear structure and a focused, well-organised narrative, and your examiner is going to love you. Now, again, it can be helpful to see some examples. So on the next couple of visuals, I've included some examples of how we get from that list of provisional headings to the list of final headings. And I've done it for the same titles, the same research dissertations that I used for the previous example, if that makes any sense. Hopefully it does. So get ready to take some screenshots and see how we go from provisional to final. So in summary, your final literature review should include between 3 and 5 main headings. However, as you are developing your literature review, as you are in that exploratory stage, do feel free to use as many headings as you want to. Embrace the initial complexity and allow your literature review to evolve as you come to understand more about your topic. I hope you found this helpful. Drop your questions in the comments and I'll be back in a couple of days with another video on navigating the messy and the magical of PhD life. I'll see you then.